All right guys, the Yozma is finally done. 900 phase amps. Let's see what it does. So this has been the most requested video on my channel recently. Today we're gonna be finishing my Yozma IN project, and we're gonna shoot to make this bike go over 80 miles per hour. Just a quick recap on this bike in case you're new to this channel. This is the smaller 48 volt version of the Yozma IN. I've had it for almost a year at this point, and we've already converted it to 72 volts in the past. I was temporarily running the Tudio 72 volt 20 amp hour lithium battery pack, and we were able to achieve 70 miles per hour with the stock gearing. It's got a custom set of plastics from Yozma, Supermoto wheels and tires from Ride or Die, custom seat cover from Bolts & Bolts. Got a Moxin FW22 motor hiding back here, and it's running on the Moxin controller meant for the Sur-Ron Lite BX. This isn't one of the newer, smaller ones that you see on a couple of Altinzus nowadays. Came with the 3-inch screen option, and it's running the Sur-Ron Lite B harness. So I have the regen, horn, headlight switch, and whatnot. It's been a fun bike, plenty fast, but I think I am looking for just a little bit more power at this point. And I also want to make a few more modifications to make it safer for street riding. If you want to get more detailed information on how I did everything on this project, make sure you check out parts 1 to 5 on this video series. You can also get yourself 5% off a Yozma IN or any of the parts that we used on this bike by using discount code PATOutdoors. So the Moxin FW22 motor comes with a 10-tooth sprocket meant for a 420 chain. We're going to be swapping that out with an 11-tooth sprocket, which should result in a slightly higher top speed with trading off a little bit of low-end torque. But the overall torque output's not going to be affected by much since we're turning the power up on the controller anyway once we install the bigger battery. Make sure to add a little bit of blue Loctite on the sprocket bolt whenever you're working with these Moxin motors. I've actually had this come off on me before, and luckily I was going slow because it can definitely be pretty scary if you're going fast and the chain gets caught on something. And then on the back, we're running a 57-tooth sprocket. Next, we're going to be upgrading the lighting. The 48 volt Yozmas only come with a small headlight up top, unlike the newer Pro models, which also come with a tail light. We're going to be replacing the stock headlight with this larger Nightlight LED headlight. Then we're going to be throwing on a tail light for the back. This is just a universal one from Amazon, which I previously used on one of my old Razor builds. Also going to be adding a horn while we're at it, since there's a button for it on the Moxin controls. And then a voltage step-down converter for a Sur-Ron Lite BX. This will convert it from a 72 volt to 12 volt output. And then we're going to tie everything together with a 12 volt power supply harness, which came with the Sur-Ron Moxin controller. So what I'm thinking is mounting the taillight in this general area and reusing some of this hardware to mount it on the bike. Though I don't want to run this whole housing. I think it looks a little bulky. I'm probably going to trim it just so it's the bracket portion. I think it'll look cleaner if I just cut this whole license plate bracket portion off. Gotta go with slightly longer bolts. I think it turned out pretty clean, though I'm gonna take this back off so we can figure out the wiring. So for this particular taillight, black is ground, red is the actual brake light, brown is the left turn signal, green is the license plate light, and yellow is the right turn signal. But since I'm not running a turn signal switch or brake light switches on this bike, I'm actually planning on running power to all the wires except for the black, obviously. Then black's going to be on the ground side, which should pretty much light everything up whenever the bike is keyed on, which is pretty much what I'm looking for, just maximizing visibility at night from the backside. So this is the Suron Light BX Moxin harness. I can't really take it off since it's fused in with the controller. I'm obviously gonna clean all this up once we're done wiring everything, but I think I may have found the perfect spot for the voltage step-down converter. There's a nut that's pre-welded on the frame that's not currently being used for anything, so I'm gonna use that as a mounting point. And luckily, every single connector on the Moxin harness comes pre-labeled. This should just plug into the one labeled DC converter. We're also going to be replacing the factory charge port since the stock charger is not going to be compatible with the new battery that we're using. I found this charge port on Amazon that happens to be the same exact shape as the original charge port, and it has the same exact XT60 connector for the Amorge charge port. With the Tudio battery that I was using in the past, the only way that I was able to charge it is to open the seat. But now we should be able to charge it from over here. All right, I may have spoken a little too soon. Looks like I have to widen the opening just a little bit to create more clearance for this. Just took a little bit of grinding, but it's perfect clearance now. But I am gonna hit this with a little bit of touch-up paint just to prevent the frame from corroding. Just going to be adding some weatherproof 2-pin connectors for the headlight and the tail light. Since the Suron harness doesn't have any that are compatible, or at least I don't have the matching connectors for these, I might as well upgrade them to some weatherproof ones. All right, let's put everything on the bike. Then we're going to connect this sub harness to the connector on the Moxin controller labeled 12 volt output. This one's for the horn switch. The horn we're going to fish through to the front along with the headlight connector, and then the headlight switch, which is the connector next to the right hand control switch. But before we can clean up the wiring, we have to switch this battery lead connector, since the new battery we're using actually comes with a QS10, an even larger connector than this. So this is the battery that we're using for the setup. This is an Amorge 72 volt 30 amp hour lithium battery pack. This is using the EVE 50PL cells and an ANT BMS. It's got a max discharge rating of 360 amps for 10 seconds, and then the max continuous discharge is 300 amps, which means for 10 seconds, this battery is able to put out over 25,000 watts of power. Came with a 84 volt max output, 5 amp charger, and a matching QS10 connector. One of the most common questions that I get on this channel is, how do you order one of these Amorge batteries? And can I send you a link to order one? And unfortunately, there's no such thing as a buy it now link on their website. You have to send them an email to inquire about the battery that you want, what BMS and what cells you're looking for, and where you're located so they can properly quote you for the shipping. You can also get one of these batteries from Econic Cycles. I think they're a little bit more, but if you don't feel like waiting 2 months like I do for sea shipping, it's certainly another reliable source for these batteries, though I think they cost a little bit more, but you don't have to wait 2 months for it. I want to say I got this battery for around $800, which I think it's a lot of battery for the money. I did order it at the same time as another battery for a different project, so I'm not sure how much it's going to cost you exactly. And unfortunately, I don't have any sort of discount codes for Amorge since I have zero affiliation with them. I just like how they build their batteries. So we're going to be swapping out this QS8 connector with this QS10. And you can pretty much tell immediately how much larger the new battery cables are. So you can just imagine how much more power this is able to deliver. I'm not going to put the controller cover back on yet until we have everything plugged up. I want to make sure there's enough slack for the headlight and the horn wiring. Look at that, there's absolutely no room for anything else but the wiring to sit here. And the good thing is there's enough clearance under the plastic cover for the battery cable so there's no stress on it when I'm sitting on it. That's amazing. The question is, does everything still work? Before we continue, if you're enjoying today's video so far, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you like this kind of content, want to see more of these type of projects, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you want to check out any of the parts that we're using for this bike build, I'll have the full build list in the description below. You can also get yourself 5% off anything from Econic Cycles, Ride or Die, or even Yozma by using discount code PATOutdoors. Might have to reposition the horn to the other side of the fork. I want to make sure that there's plenty of slack on all of these wires whenever I'm turning the handlebar. Another common question I get on this specific bike is how much is the total build cost? And honestly, I would just prefer not to do the math at this point. But if you add the cost of the bike itself, everything together is definitely north of $4,000. And if my wife is watching this video, I was just kidding. The whole build is probably less than $1,000. And since the Moxin controls already has a built-in light switch, I can finally get rid of the factory switch. Then we can finally start cleaning things up. All right, we only have one thing left to do, and that is to turn up the tune on the controller. Billy at Electric RVA helped me set up this Suron Moxin controller for my Socian motor and the previous battery that I was using, but it's time to make some additional changes. So low G, mid G, and high G phase are the three different power modes. Low G is currently set to 200 phase amps. I'm gonna turn that up to 250. Mid G, which is mode 2, I'm gonna turn that up to 600. I'm gonna put low G up to 300 just to keep things consistent. Then I'm going to turn up the max power setting from 700 phase amps all the way to 900 phase amps. I might experiment with changing some settings with the BMS to allow for a little bit more output, but I've never had a bike this powerful before, so let's just try it out at 900 phase amps. It looks like I got two settings mixed up. Rated current is not what I wanted to change with the battery upgrade. It's actually battery DIS, battery discharge. We're going to turn that up from 200 all the way to 300. And that is pretty much all we're changing for now. Save the settings and we'll see how it rides. I also need to recalibrate the speedometer since we changed the front sprocket. So I'm going to do that out on the road. So now you can see that mode 1's at 300 amps, mode 2's at 600, and mode 3 is at 900 phase amps. 83.7 volts, so we're pretty much full charge. Just gonna cruise around at 600 amps and make sure that everything's functioning correctly before we do any sort of pulls. All right, we are out here in Maryland. I'm with my buddy Elmer. He said he's found a perfect spot for us to do a top speed run on. Man, I can't help myself but do the math. With all the parts that we've installed on this bike, we are probably pretty close to $5,000 at this point. But this Yozma has regen, it's got reverse, it's got a horn. It's tuned for 25,000 watts. It's got a headlight, a tail light. I'm pretty sure this is as loaded as a Yozma IN10 can get at this point. If you guys happen to know of any Yozma IN10s that have more features and more power than this bike, I would really be interested in seeing that. If you could please link it down in the comments. Let's do this. 900 phase amps. First pull, 79 miles per hour. All right, we're gonna do one more run since we kind of cut it short there. Miles per hour. This will probably do 85 miles per hour if I just held on for just a little bit longer, but we're already down to 80.9 volts, so I don't know if it'll do 85 exactly with this much voltage left. I think if we ran this from a full charge and give it one more go, it'll definitely do a little over 85 miles per hour. All right, not gonna lie, it's a little bit sketchy going that fast with stock brakes on, but I feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that this thing has regen if I need it. Oh shit. Miles per hour. That is freaking amazing. I had to let off at the beginning just because the front end was picking up while we were trying to accelerate. But that is honestly super impressive because I was rolling into the throttle pretty slowly. 86 miles per hour. Go. I've obviously gone faster than this on a bigger bike, but dude, it just feels super sketchy when you're in this little tiny short wheelbase, tiny handlebar and just crunched up like that and you're hitting bumps on the road going 80 whatever. I almost want to do pulls going the other way, but it is pretty sketchy going towards the street at almost 90 miles per hour with stock brakes. All right, last pull. Oh my God. I don't think I'm ever gonna get used to that. That is an insane amount of power on a mini bike. At this point, I don't even care how much we've spent on this project so far, and I'm not gonna do the math, but I can just tell you straight up, it was worth every single penny. Okay, that's insane.
I think you've created a monster. You think it's like your best build?
I think at this point, this is my best build. 86 mile per hour mini supermoto. This is exactly what I wanted to do with my razors in the past. I might still put together another razor that's similar to this, but I just don't think I'm gonna go this deep into another project, except for maybe my Sur-Ron Ultra B.
Oh.
I don't know, man. It's like, it's hard to explain the logic behind why I want to do what I want to do. But when I first hit 60 miles per hour with my razor, I was like, this is it. When we hit 70 miles per hour with the Tudio, that got me hooked. And I wanted to chase 80 miles per hour and put together that Vipco H3, and we're able to do 74 miles per hour. But we finally went over 80 miles per hour with the Yozma IN 10. And I just don't know where we're going to go from here. Should we put together another mini supermoto that goes at least 90 miles per hour? Or should we just jump straight to 100 miles per hour with the Ultra B? Yeah, so it's 72 volt, 30 amp hour. We put about 8 miles on today's charge so far, and we're down to 76.6 volts. Granted, a lot of that was heavy pulls, but if I was riding this normally, I'd probably get easily 30, 35 miles out of it. Obviously, if I'm cruising at 50 miles an hour and doing 80 mile an hour pulls here and there, I'll probably suck the battery down in less than 20 miles.
Friendly race to the light?
So you want to race me on your hay bike?
Yeah, why not?
All right, I'm going to give you 100 yards head start.
So what is that, like 3 light posts?
That might be over 100 yards, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to give you 3 whole light posts.
Okay.
When you get there, I'm going to start running.
3, 2, 1.
What do you guys think? Am I going to catch him? Come on. All right, let's go. Woo! Wow, with plenty of room to spare. Hey, that does not count.
I said to the light, that's the line. I don't know why you...
Wow, did I really lose just now? Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna change anything else on this Yozma. It is perfect. Dude, this build is insane.